Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us. My name is Mara Walsh, and I will be your host today. I am very excited to be hosting this virtual tour to explore one of the best beach destinations in the world. I visited the Grand Cayman years ago and got to know its land and its oceans very well. It is a very popular spring destination for people in the United States who are trying to escape our lingering winter temperatures. Today was exceptionally chilly, and I would much rather be in the Caymans than here. So we're going to virtually go there today. I'm very happy to be able to continue bringing these virtual tour experiences to you via Zoom and Facebook Live, so welcome. I'll share a little bit about myself for those of you who don't know me. Again, my name is Mara Walsh. I am in the United States and specifically between Philadelphia and New York. This is in the Eastern time zone. I mention this because some people do have conversion issues in terms of knowing what time the shows are going to be live in their region. So you can always use Google or a time converter and just say New York or Philadelphia with your region, and it'll tell you what time we're going on. As you may know by now, when we are not traveling virtually, I host groups on physical tours, as well as help others plan their own family and group vacations. My tours are open to all women and men, and my summer trips are for ages teens through senior citizens. If you want to follow our physical tours, please join my private Facebook group, which is Girl Travel Tours, where you can travel right along with our group from Facebook. Of course, you can join us physically if you'd like to as well. There's a list of my tours on my website, girltraveltours.com. And by all means, if you're interested in any of them, let me know. When COVID struck, we were unable to travel physically, so I started traveling with my tour guide friends virtually. And thankfully, these virtual tour presentations have helped many tour directors earn some much needed income and have helped keep the excitement of travel alive for my travel group and many of you. So they have served both purposes very well. We've done more than 75 virtual tours, and the recordings are all available on my website, Girl Travel Tours, as well as on Facebook and my YouTube channels. We have some more tours planned for this coming year. Many are listed on the website so that you can register for them. I'll just show you a few of the future tours coming up. We have Como and the Lake District for next week, April 5th. Galilee and Jerusalem around Easter and Passover, April 12th. The Historic District of San Diego, California, April 19th. And Madrid, which was rescheduled and is now airing on May 11th. We will continue to try to produce these virtual tour presentations as long as there is interest in them. You will experience a lull during high travel season, as many of the guides and myself will be out on the road and in the air. I want to review a few ways for you to interact with us during this event. Feel free to ask questions about this virtual tour, the tour director, or my travel program in the Q&A feature on the Zoom toolbar. You can also chat with me in the background, and I'll do my best to answer your questions. And as always, we're going to have an interactive poll to kind of get a sense of what your connection is with the Cayman Islands. So let's take a moment and answer the question. What's your connection with the Cayman Islands? I've been and love it. That's where I sit, so I'd be selecting that one. I have a trip booked. I plan to go in the future. I have no set plans, but I'm interested in the location, or I am solely interested in experiencing it virtually. I'll wait for a bunch of you to place your votes here, and then I'm going to display them. It looks like at least 50% have no set plans, but are interested in the location. Then there's about 25% of us, a quarter of us, who have been and loved it. It is certainly one of those places that when you have been, it's a very relaxing place. It gives you a lot of peace, and it gives you a really nice connection with the marine life and water. So feel free to get more out of this, I'm sure, with our tour guide today, our virtual tour guide, Georgiana. I'm going to take the results down from the screen. If you still see them after I take them down, there's a little button on the top left. You can just pop it and it should go away so that you're not seeing it anymore. Okay, today's tour, as well as all of our tours, are scheduled for 90 minutes plus a Q&A. So I hope you are ready for the presentation. And as you know, a tour would not be complete without a fantastic tour director. And we have a very experienced tour guide with us today. Many of you know my friend Georgiana. She is definitely a fan favorite and has led many of our virtual tours for our audience in the past 2 years. I'll share with you via chat and during the Q&A how you can tip the tour guide. If you appreciate this presentation and all of Georgiana's knowledge, please leave a tip using one of the means that is in the chat or the last slide after our presentation. I'll share it with you so that you can leave a tip. You can always go to Girl Travel Tours and there's a tip the guide button right at the top of the website. And that's an easy way for you to leave a tip. So today I want to welcome back Georgiana, who will share with us her perspective of the Cayman Islands. Hello, Georgiana, please join me on the floor and I'm going to hand over the controls to you if you're ready. How are you doing?
Hey, Mara, how are you? Thank you for the lovely introduction. Hello, everyone. I have shared my video, but please let me know if you see it. It should have started. Okay, let me see.
I think they're still seeing my slide.
Yes, well, I checked this earlier. Let's see now. You can't see, right?
No.
Should I go out and come back in?
Yeah, maybe that will do it.
Okay.
So I always ask in the chat before we get started where everybody is coming to us from. I want to look back because I always see that people have come to us from some of the islands as well. So I was wondering if we had any folks today from the islands. So Georgiana's going to try it again.
Can you see me now?
I can see you.
Perfect.
But I can't see your shared screen.
Because I'm disabled.
Oh, well, there you go, because you just got back in. So let me enable you. Okay, now you should be completely ready to host.
Yes, perfect. It feels like we're doing this for the first time.
I know, it's as if we have never done this before, right? 75 times later. Here we go.
Perfect. Now you can see my screen, right? And I think we're ready to start. Okay. So let's do this again, everyone. First of all, my name is Georgiana. I am an experienced tour guide, as Mara put it, of virtual tours that I've done previously with her. I am a Romanian tour guide, but tonight I want to take you on a trip to the Cayman Islands. I am very familiar with the Cayman Islands because I've lived there for 3 years. I've worked there and I got to know the islands really well, and I want to bring you a flavor of the islands with you tonight. Even if you want to see them or not in the future, I do know that the Cayman Islands are, you know, a little bit shrouded in mystery. I call them the hidden gem of the Caribbean because for the first time I heard of the Cayman Islands, I didn't know what to believe, right? You hear it's a tax haven, you hear of people hiding their funds in the Cayman Islands, but that's it. Well, I'm here to show you a different perspective and to show what you can discover in this Caribbean paradise. So first of all, I wanted to do some technical details, to establish some technical details. I am also sharing some music. If it's too loud, please let me know. If you cannot hear it, please let me know. I will try to adapt. And I will be sharing some videos too. Tonight's presentation is a combination of photos and videos, as well as information presented by me. If at any point you do not see my videos very well, please let me know in chat. Mara will let me know too. So if you're ready, I'm ready to start this virtual itinerary through the Cayman Islands. And I want to take you a little bit through what we're going to do today. So I will show you the map of the Cayman Islands. I'll share a little bit about their history. And I have prepared a small holiday itinerary from the perspective of a traveler to the Cayman Islands. So if you were to travel there, I have designed day by day some suggestions of what you should do or could do. All right. So without further ado, let's start with the map. So first of all, let me turn on my pointer. Because I want to place the Cayman Islands on the map for you. So this is the Caribbean Sea, right? The biggest island in the Caribbean Sea is, of course, Cuba. And here we have the United States with Florida. Here we have Jamaica. And in between Cuba and Jamaica, we have these very, very, very tiny islands, which are called the Cayman Islands. Now, the Cayman Islands are located in the Cayman Trench. And as I like to call them, a little bit in the middle of nowhere, because when you arrive on the island by plane, you literally hear the captain calling like, oh, we're 10 minutes away from landing, and you look around and there's nothing but ocean until the very last moment you see that speck of ground and you land. And yeah, they're pretty small. Now, to look at them closely, I wanted to explain why exactly they're called the Cayman Islands, because there are three of them, right? A lot of the people associate Cayman Islands with Grand Cayman. By the way, everyone calls them Cayman, but the locals call them Cayman. So the Grand Cayman is like the bigger island, the most important island out of the three. But we also have Cayman Brac and Little Cayman. Now, I know that in this map, they look very close to each other. They're not, they're further west from the Grand Cayman Island. But let's talk a little bit about, as you can see here, you see that I have a map, it's very small, but you can see the distance between the Grand Cayman Island to the other two sister islands. Now, the Cayman Islands is a self-governing British overseas territory. I know there's a lot of confusion. A lot of people believe that the Cayman Islands are part of the United States. That is not true. They are part of the Commonwealth. This is the largest British overseas territory by population in the Western Caribbean Sea. In total, they have 264 square kilometer or 102 square mile. And this comprises the territory of all the three islands that we've talked about. Now, they are considered geographically part of the Western Caribbean zone, as well as the Greater Antilles. The territory, as I said, it's a major offshore financial center. Lots of international businesses and wealthy individuals have found a home in the Cayman Islands. And this is largely due to the fact that the state does not charge any taxes. The GDP per capita income of the locals is $91,000 US, and they have the highest standard of living in the Caribbean and the second highest in the Western world. Now, the territory's success has attracted many, many workers from around the world, such as myself. There are immigrants from over 130 countries located in the Cayman Islands, and the total population as of 2021 is 70,000 people. Now, I forgot to mention, I lived in the Cayman Islands from 2016 until 2019. I came back to Romania in the summer of 2019. And it was actually one of the best decisions of my life without even knowing, because of course the pandemic hit in 2020 and the islands were closed off completely. And if they had found me on the island, they would have sent me home anyway. So yeah, at the time that I was there, between 2016 and 2019, the population was in between 50,000, and it definitely grew. And the fact that there are people from more than 130 countries, that's true. Like, you are literally mingling with the globe every time you walk the streets and in every workplace. Now, this is the flag of the Cayman Islands. Of course, you have this is their coat of arms, right? You have the turtles. The Cayman Islands remained largely uninhabited until the 17th century. There was a variety of people that settled on the islands, including pirates, refugees, refugees from the Spanish Inquisition, shipwrecked sailors, deserters, and so on. But Great Britain took formal control of the Cayman Islands along with Jamaica in 1670. Now, permanent settlement of the islands began in the 1730s, so in the 18th century. Now you have the Union Jack here, right, from Great Britain. And of course, this is the motto of the Cayman Islands. He had founded it upon the seas. And the turtle, it's because of the turtling industry that dominated the Cayman Islands at the time. We'll speak about this a little bit later. Now, we will go into the history of the Cayman Islands. So we've located the Cayman Islands on the map. Now we go into the history. And of course, because we're in the Caribbean, the history is also tied to none other than Christopher Columbus. He was the first explorer to record seeing the Cayman Islands in 1503. This was his fourth voyage to the New World. And he noted that the islands and the seas around the islands were teeming with turtles. So he named the islands, what do you think? Las Tortugas. In Spanish, Las Tortugas means turtles. So this is, of course, a drawing of, it's not a drawing of Christopher Columbus, but the Cayman Islands back in the days, more than 500 years ago, were a haven for the green turtles, and that's what attracted the sailors for the meat they provided. Then we have Sir Francis Drake. He is an English privateer. He made a similar observation in 1586, saying that the island was edible. Edible in the sense that, you know, after so many days and weeks spent on sea, the sailors were tired of fish and they were happy to have a change in their meal with the turtle meat. They were so happy that overfishing nearly wiped all the turtles out during the centuries, so they are now protected. There's actually a place in the Cayman Islands called the Cayman Turtle Center, which educates visitors on the importance of this marine animal. Nevertheless, that doesn't mean that you cannot have turtle in the Cayman Islands as a dish. We'll also visit the Cayman Turtle Center a little bit later, but I wanted to explain a little bit about the turtle industry, so to say. So it started, the taste for turtle meat started with the discovery, of course, of the Cayman Islands, but also the Hoboken Turtle Club, which was located in New Jersey. It was founded in 1796. And it lured members from politicians to literary figures well into the 20th century. So why was this so important? The membership was somehow exclusive, and the club routinely announced the arrival of fine green turtles and invited all who could afford the ticket to dine on turtle for breakfast and dinner. It was, they served delicious turtle soup, delicious turtle dishes, and it was so delicious and it was considered so premium, the experience, that they announced it in newspapers across the country, right? So all the higher class had a taste for turtle meat, and as you can see, it was quite exclusive to have access to it. So that, you know, put a lot of pressure on hunting the turtles. Sorry. Now we have here a photo from the 1900s of a Cayman turtle hunter. And let's see, you see all of these green turtles here. Due to their size and the abundance found in the Cayman Islands, early European settlers easily caught the turtles on beaches because they came there to nest, or in shallow waters as they were searching for food. Over time, they were increasingly caught in the nets of turtle hunters, such as this one here. The most successful turtle hunters came from the Cayman Islands. And like many other Caribbean islands, the Cayman economy was built on neither sugar nor bananas, right? Except for mahogany logging, which was a different industry, or cotton production, another industry, but both of them proved to be short-lived. Early settlers tended to look to the sea for a livelihood. Caymanians salvaged wrecks and hunted sea turtles until the 19th century. Overhunting had completely extirpated the green turtles from the islands, and so they started moving into the territories of other countries. In time, of course, thankfully, and especially starting with the 20th century when the green turtles started being protected, in time, the tourism and financial sector started gaining more and more momentum and more supporters in the islands. And so turtle hunting was completely abolished. Now I have a few photos of a turtle soup from today that you can taste in the Cayman Islands, and turtle stew. In my opinion, they do not look very appetizing. I have tried them, and they don't taste very well either. It is part of the tradition of the local Caymanians. And one thing that's really, really good about the Turtle Center that I've showed you earlier is that it is a sustainable turtle farm. So for tourists, of course, if they go there, they're looking for amusement. They get to touch turtles, they get to snorkel with turtles, as you will see from a later on video. But the reality is that people breed the green turtles to release them into the wild and to also provide meat for the locals that still follow the traditions of the Cayman Islands. This way, they don't feel compelled to hunt them into the wild. They just go buy the meat at the turtle farm, and everyone is happy at the end of the day. Now, since we're talking about the history of the islands, we've talked about Christopher Columbus, we've talked about Sir Francis Drake, but of course there's a large chunk of history related to pirates that came on these islands. Now, as I told you, the islands remained uninhabited for a long time after the discovery by Christopher Columbus. They were populated only by turtles, alligators, lizards, well until the 1660s. The first people who attempted to settle on Little Cayman soon fled after being attacked by pirates. Indeed, privateers and pirates were active in the area for many, many years because they used the islands as a base from which to attack the galleons bound for Europe, which had all the gold and silver taken from South America from the New World. Now we have here the photo of one of the most popular pirates that ever came to the Cayman Islands, and his name is Edward Teach. Now, this promise of capturing Spanish treasure ships on their way home from the Caribbean soon attracted the attentions of a motley crew of buccaneers, pirates, freebooters, everyone. The golden age of piracy spanned from the 1650s to the 1730s. And this was Cayman's most notorious pirate, Edward Teach, otherwise known as, what's the color of his beard? He was known as Blackbeard. He frequented the area from 1713 to his death in 1718. Now, according to the legend, this pirate still has hidden treasure buried in the Cayman Brac caves, underwater caves. So Cayman Brac is the sister island of Grand Cayman. Cayman Brac was actually a prominent home for pirates. It was known as the Brethren of the Sea, and it was a well-known place for them to hide stolen treasure. Now, even today, divers still go there to try their luck and maybe find Edward Teach's treasure. But the only treasure that they find when they come to the Cayman Islands is the Edward Teach rum. This is an 8-year-old rum. It is considered the premium rum. You'll see marks of the pirate legacy in the Cayman Islands all over the island when you visit it. through the drinks or through restaurants or shops. Now, Edward Teach, as you can see, it's sold in a small bottle. Now, other pirates that tie their name to the Cayman Islands are George Lowther. Then we have Calico Jack Rackham or Henry Morgan. Throughout the 18th century, these were some of the most infamous pirates of the Caribbean. And, they would roam the seas. Most of them would stop on the island just to repair the damaged ships, to stock up on water, to stock up on turtle meat. However, the pirates' haven lasted until the 1730s, when they were slowly discouraged by the growing population to come to the islands. Now, to keep the spirit of the pirates alive, there's actually a celebration in the Cayman at the beginning of November, which is called Pirates Week. It's the Cayman Islands National Festival. The locals attempt an island invasion. They're armed with swords, with hooks, and most importantly, with bottles of rum. Now, there is even a pirate ship that you can hop on for a sunset sail, for an open bar. If you've ever dreamed to be part of the Pirates of the Caribbean, this is your best chance to come to the Cayman Islands in November. Now, I will share a video with you, and do let me know if it plays.
You want to take over the island by the pirates' rules.
Love to play, love to jam. You see me, I's a man. I always happy once money in the hand, but I don't got no time for no worries. I don't got no time for no stress in my head. I'm on the mind, so I'm ready to go on the road. I come out to live my life. Live my life, drink a rum and live my life.
Right. So I think this gave you a taste of the Pirates Week in the Cayman Islands. As you can see, there's a lot of celebration going on during the week. And I highly recommend you try it someday if you have the chance. If not, do check out all the videos of this event. People like to, as you saw, everyone gets dressed up. They're locals, they're tourists, they're the costumed people mingling with all the tourists that happen to be on the island, because sometimes people just arrive on the cruise ship and they're there for the day. So it's fun all around. Now, because we talked about the pirates, I have to talk about the local rum. So Tortuga, now you know, means turtle. It's the Cayman Islands local rum that you can find pretty much everywhere. I would say it's a decent rum. Definitely if you're a rum drinker, or if you prefer to sip rum, this is not the rum for you. This rum goes very, very well in either cocktails or in my favorite Cayman Islands cake. Tortuga rum cake is a traditional cake served in the Cayman Islands. It comes in different flavors and it's soaked up in rum flavored juice, so to say. It's absolutely delicious and people do favor it as a souvenir to take back home. And these are produced, both the Tortuga rum and the Tortuga rum cake are produced by the Tortuga Fine Wine and Spirits Company. I wanted to mention this because there's another distillery on the island, Cayman Spirits Distillery, which does rum tastings. Yep. It's fun. And the person that actually distills all the drinks at this distillery is Moses, and he's the person behind here drinking with all the visitors. Now, this distillery doesn't produce just rum, it also produces vodka, gin, and so on. I actually have a bottle of this rum here. I have it from 2019. As you can see, it's still half a bottle here, but this is the Governor's Reserve. So that's what the Cayman Distillery produces, Governor's Reserve. I don't know if you can see it very well. This is the dark variety. So that means it's sweeter and more spiced. And they also produce another one, which is called 7 Fathoms. Now, this is their premium rum. This is the sipping rum, and it's produced from fresh organic cane that comes from the eastern side of the island. After it's been produced, it's poured in American white oak bourbon casks, and it's taken to a depth of 42 feet or 7 fathoms underwater. Now, the currents of the Caribbean Sea and the constant temperature under the water makes the rum pick up all the subtle flavors of the casks. And this is actually an awarded rum of the Cayman Islands. So if you get a chance to ever try it, buy it in your local store, I don't know, I would suggest you sip on it. Right. Now, we've talked about the history of the Cayman Islands. I gave you a little bit of taste of the drinks that you can find here locally, but this is not the end of it. And now I want to talk a little bit about the top diving sites of the Cayman Islands. Now, I know Mara, for example, the thing that she did in the Cayman Islands when she went there was to dive. Now, a lot of the people choose the Cayman Islands as a location for their holiday, specifically for the diving spots. And, you know, it makes sense because the Cayman Islands have some of the best water clarity in the world. A lot of people consider it as being one of the top diving locations in the world for that purpose. And it's a underwater photographer's haven. Now, the temperatures in the Cayman Islands are absolutely amazing. And that's because the temperature is constant all throughout the year, more or less, right? Let's see, it's in between the 70s and 80s Fahrenheit. And the difference is in seasons. We have the wet season and the dry season. And now the wet season starts in May and lasts all the way until October. As you can see here, it happens at the same time with the rise in temperature a little bit. And that's because the breeze kind of dies down, right? Because the rest of the year during winter time, there's a lovely breeze that keeps the constant temperature on ground level, and the time is just amazing. The waters are completely still. There's no currents, there's no waves. It's pretty much like a huge pool. And I decided to share a map of all the diving sites that you can find in the Grand Cayman. Now, please, do you think, take a guess, put it in the chat, how many dive sites do you think there are around the Cayman Islands? The Grand Cayman, not all of them, just the Grand Cayman, just the one that you see here. Pick a number, any number. And let's see if you guess correctly. Because for an island that it's 100 miles, the square mile big, the number of dive sites is quite impressive. So let's see. 900, 200, 250, 10,000, 800. Okay. 175, 475, 179. Okay, good guesses. 200 and more. So there are 240 dive sites around Grand Cayman. The beauty of the Grand Cayman Islands is that it offers shore diving on great coral reefs with little to no current, as well as diving from boats. Now we have Cayman Brac, which has another 65 dive sites, and Little Cayman offers a little behind 60 dive sites. Now, the Cayman Brac, as opposed to the Grand Cayman, offers a good mix of wall, wreck, and reef diving for all experience levels. I do have a diving video, which I will optimize because I want you to enjoy it. Please let me know if there's any problem with the video right now. We are here in the Grand Cayman, and this is the Great Wall dive site. There's a big wall surrounding the Cayman Trench, as you can see written in the video too. It is the deepest point in the Caribbean Sea and the second deepest to the Mariana Trench. And what's interesting about it is that you can go 100 feet from the shore, and then it just goes down deep very fast. I decided to finish the video with an eagle ray, as you can see here in the distance. All right, let's go back to our presentation. And I hope you enjoyed this video. It was, very serene in the sense that you could see exactly how it feels to dive in the Cayman Islands. And I have to say, the Cayman Islands are actually the place where I took my diving permit, open water diver. And I didn't know that I was spoiled at the time that I took that diver's permit in there until I dove in a different site. And the Cayman Islands does offer great visibility underwater. Like literally, you're out there, and you can see everything around you for meters and meters and meters ahead of you. There's no disruption of visibility. And the second time that I went diving, it happened also in the Caribbean, and that was fine. But then I went diving in Costa Rica, which is on the Pacific side, and the visibility was terrible in my opinion. Of course, the dive master told me that that's great visibility for those waters, and I was like, I didn't understand what was going on, because to me, not being able to see absolutely everything around you was unusual. That's why I said that I didn't realize at the time that I was being spoiled, because that's not the norm of the dive sites around the world. And that's why the Cayman Islands is considered the top diving site for the visibility. And I want to share with you the top 5 diving spots. Of course, it's very difficult to choose top 5 diving spots out of 240, and not mentioning the ones on Cayman Brac or Little Cayman. So I chose the ones that I find a little bit that have something different. So we have the Great Wall Dive that we've spoke about. This makes you feel, and that you saw the video about, this makes you feel like a tiny speck in the ocean as you hang near a wall that drops dramatically to more than 1,800 meters. That's 6,000 feet. You can see black coral, colorful sponges. They decorate the near vertical face. And, you have the waters are teeming with marine life. The top of the wall is around 9 meters, so that's 30 feet. So the site can be enjoyed as a shallow dive as well as a deep dive. The second dive spot that I enjoy is the Kitty Wake. You can see the name here on the ship. This is a former submarine support ship. It's 76 meter or 250 feet long. It was purposely sunk in 2011. And it now sits upright in the sand at 18 meters or 60 feet, and it's teeming with artificial reef encrusted with coral. Now, the last time, because of some currents during the hurricane season, it wasn't sitting as upright as you can see it in this photo. I don't know if the situation changed in the recent years. Now, this wreck was specifically set up for safe penetration, giving divers many interior rooms to explore. It's also good for beginner divers to go explore this wreck, especially those that get nervous in enclosed spaces. There are plenty of decks to roam around and to check out. Now, the third dive spot that I chose is the Sunset Reef. This is a popular shore dive. It's just 60 meters deep, 200 feet off the Sunset House Resort Pier. And the reef slopes gradually from 5 to 17 meters. That's in between 17 to 55 feet. It's completely covered in corals, sea whips, small sponges, gorgonians, and this mermaid. So there's a statue of a mermaid that was purposefully sunk in the waters, and it makes for a great photo opportunity. It's almost a 3 meter, 9 feet tall statue. It's completely made out of bronze, and it is considered to be Amphitrite, which was the wife of the mythological god Poseidon. You know, Poseidon in Greek antiquity, he was the god of the seas. Now, some of the fish that you can see here are the black grouper, the sergeant major, the yellowtail snappers, or the Maury eels. Maury eels can be found not just in this dive site, but in many other dive sites around the Cayman Islands. These are just a few species that I wanted to mention. Then we have another dive site. It's called Birth Brothers Boulders, one of the most beautiful one. It's located in Cayman Brac. Now you have closely packed ridges that form huge coral heads between the shore and the reef wall. You have elkhorn corals that adorn the top of the ridges, many tube sponges, hard corals, and it's also a great spot to see these little guys. They're called flying gurnards. The depth of which you can see them is around 6 meters, which is almost 20 feet. And we have the fifth diving spot that I chose, which is MV Captain Keith Tibbetts wreck. This is a little bit unusual because it's the only Soviet-made warship that divers can visit in the Western Hemisphere. For this reason, there's a lot of wreck junkies, aficionados that make the Keith wreck one of their two dive spots on the list. Of course, the Soviets didn't call it Captain Keith or Keith Tibbetts. Tibbetts is a very common name in the Cayman Islands, by the way. It was renamed for a local dive operator after the Cayman government purchased the wreck for the dive tourism. So, if you want to add something unusual to your diving list, this is your chance. And we've come to probably one of the parts that you waited for the most, and that's the holiday itinerary if you were to visit the Cayman Islands. So far, we positioned the Cayman Islands on the map. We talked a little bit about the history and how the pirates are connected to the islands. Then we saw some of the best diving spots in Cayman, and now we are going to just holiday. Because there's one thing that you need to know about the Cayman Islands. 99% of the tourists that arrive in the Cayman Islands are not British, as you might assume from the fact that they are actually part of the Commonwealth, but American, and American from the United States specifically. That's why it's mostly confused of being part of the United States. And not only because of that, but also because most of the commercial relationships of the island are more with the United States due to their proximity than to Great Britain, right? So there's a lot of Americans that come down to the Cayman Islands, also because it's a very short flight, depending on where you come from, of course, but I think the flight is like 4 hours long. It's very well connected to many airports, such as New York, Miami, Atlanta, and so on. And, it's easy to come down just for a few days. You can make it a week itinerary and so on. So I wanted to help you out and wanted to make a few suggestions on the resorts that you might want to stay at, some of the best resorts on the island. Now, one thing to bear in mind, the Cayman Islands are not cheap. They do have the highest standard of living, and that is reflected in the cost of living too. So for the people that work there, yes, they have higher salaries compared to the rest of the world, but when you go to the supermarket and a kilo of tomato, like a pound of tomato costs $4, it all balances out. So if you decide to vacation to the Cayman Islands, you need to budget accordingly for it. Now, the resorts that I'm going to present to you are not sponsored in any way. These are just my opinion, my perspective. I'll tell you where I work because I did work at a resort. You decide where you want to stay. I will also give you the price range just so you get an idea. So the first one that I chose, and by the way, I didn't choose them in any particular order. It's just that I chose them by popularity. The Ritz-Carlton. So the Ritz-Carlton resort is built like a sand castle. And of course, it's one of the more popular places to stay at while in the Cayman Islands. Now, the Ritz-Carlton is located on the 7 Mile Beach, which is the most popular beach in Ben Cayman. And this is an example of how the room looks on the inside. Of course, you can also hire a day bed on the beach and just lay there, because that's the main purpose you come to the Cayman Islands. If you don't come here to dive and if you don't come here on a cruise ship, the other thing that you could do is just enjoy your time at the beach and water activities. The second resort that I wanted to mention is the Kimpton Seafire Resort and Spa. This is also the resort that me and Vlad worked at, and which was open in 2016. If you are familiar with the Kimpton chain in the United States, this is their first hotel outside of the United States. And it does offer a more modern approach for the island, for the Cayman Islands. This is how a room looks like on the inside. And of course, the day beds also located on the 7 Mile beach and the pool area. Other resorts, for example, the Marriott Beach Resort. I'm not gonna repeat. Most of these resorts are located on the 7 Mile beach. We'll speak about this area of the islands a little bit later. The Marriott Beach Resort is one of the oldest resorts on the island. The only thing that I would like to mention here is it's a great resort, very comfortable, great services, but do pay attention to their beach, because unfortunately for them, they are located in a part of the island that due to the hurricane season, they can lose the beach. I know this is completely unfair. Losing the beach means that there's currents, waves coming in, the water coming in, and the beach can disappear. The same beach can reappear a year later or 2 years later when sand is deposited again in a few months after the hurricane season. So before booking your vacation, I would check, hey, how's the status of the beach? Do you see? Because in 2018 or 19, I don't remember exactly the year, they've lost, like what you see today was completely lost. Like the water of the ocean was almost up to the pool. Then we have the Margaritaville Beach Resort, which also opened recently. They do offer budget-friendly accommodation. So a night stay at the Margaritaville, if I'm not mistaken, and I'm talking 2019 prices. I do not know exactly how the prices have changed after the pandemic. I'm assuming they increased a little bit, but in season, in 2019, it was around $200 a night. And that's considered cheap for the Cayman Islands because compared to the other resorts that I've just presented, where the range was in between $600 to $2,000 a night for a regular room. And of course, if you're talking about penthouse and so on, we're talking a lot more money. So the Margaritaville also great, as I said, for budget-friendly tourists. The Wyndham Reef Resort, this one is not located on the 7 Mile beach. It is located in the northwestern part of the island. Also one of the oldest resorts and that caters specifically to divers. Because I'm so sorry, I'm battling a little bit of a cold, so that's why I'm coughing. And if you're a diver and you want to go to the Cayman Islands just for diving, this is the place that you would stay at, because most of the dive spots, like the greatest dive spots, are located on this side of the island. Otherwise, you stay on 7 Mile beach. We do have the Caribbean Club as well, the Holiday Inn, the Westin, which is also part of the Marriott group. This is inside the Westin. And I think these are, of course, there's a few more. Before the pandemic, there was news of other resorts opening up, luxury resorts, but all those plans are stopped for the moment. Now, if you decided where you want to stay and which resorts, let's see the day-by-day itinerary. And on day one, you have to go and see Stingray City. Now, I know if this sounds weird to you, everything will be clear in just a few seconds. So we were talking about the 7 Mile beach. The 7 Mile beach is this strip of beach and the most developed area of the Grand Cayman. This is how it looks. As you can see, white sand. It's a very, very, very large area of beach and crystal clear waters, completely transparent, no waves, nothing. It's serene, it's calm, it's beautiful to take a walk, and you can start on one end and go all the way down. So just so you understand, the Kimpton Resort starts a little bit towards the north side, and then it goes down, and then you have the Westin, you have the Ritz, and you have the Marriott, and so on, all the way towards Georgetown in the south. This is the typical night out, sunset, enjoying sunset. 7 Mile Beach is amazing to enjoy the sunset. And yeah, people just go out, there's the fire pit, enjoy a drink, socialize, and hear some of the Caribbean music that you might hear right now. So Stingray City, the first thing that you need to visit if you are in the Cayman Islands. What is Stingray City? It's a sandbar. So it's a sandbar in the middle of the ocean. You get there with a boat, which you can hire either privately or with a group. And when you arrive there, the water is waist deep, and you get to touch and pet stingrays. And they are wild stingrays, but they are so used to human touch that we know, I mean, in my time there, I kind of considered them pets, but they were not pets. However, this is an absolutely great experience. And let's see, what do I mean by that? So these are huge stingrays. They get to hold with your hands underneath, and they'll just lay on your chest, and they're completely harmless. I will play a video for you in which I will explain why exactly they are harmless, and they are not the same type of stingrays that killed Steve Irwin. Because unfortunately, these stingrays get a bad reputation. Okay, let's see.
You gave her something to eat?
In this video, you see the sting of the stingray. They have only one in the back of the tail, and they normally keep that or save that for a shark, for a larger predator. Now, the sandbar in Stingray City was created many years ago due to the fishermen that would discard leftover fish parts in this area, and the stingrays would come all and feed. And it's the same thing that's happening now. Most of the boats that come in at the sandbar will feed the stingrays. And they are very used to human touch. So the great attraction of the Stingray City is to just hold that stingray from underneath. There's a technique. You have to hold your palms wide out, like your fingers wide out. Hold her and just kind of let her relax on your chest. The stingray can also give you a kiss. A kiss, you know, they don't have any teeth. They suck the food from the sand underneath. So the kiss that I mean is that they might be sucking on your chest when they're laying like that. They're absolutely adorable. That's why I call them a little bit like pets, because they just like to be cuddled and just like to be held. And there's nothing dangerous about them. They would never use that sting with a human because they do not see humans as threats. Imagine there are hundreds, if not thousands of people going there every week. And so they are completely used. They even some of them even have names, and the locals know them. Now there's another thing. You can get a back massage. Now the guy on the right, he was the captain of the boat, and he was a local, a Caymanian, and he was the one providing the entertainment, so to say. You can get a back rub from a stingray. I know this looks a little bit like mishandling the stingray, but don't worry, they were completely safe, and they did enjoy this treatment. If a stingray does not enjoy anything, she would just leave the area. So they're not the kind of animals to sit around. They don't want to attack. They're not offensive in any way. So if they don't enjoy the company of the person, they'll just swim away. And if you kiss a stingray, there's a local legend that says that you'll enjoy 7 years of good luck. If I was to believe that legend, I would probably be having 100 years of good luck from now on. But the pandemic came, so I don't know what to say about kissing a stingray. Well, you know, let's keep hoping. And the last video is with Stingray City and with Starfish Point. Now, on a regular boat trip, So this was a very short video. On a regular Stingray City boat trip, you will also stop at Starfish Point. At Starfish Point, you get to hold starfish very close to the shore. If you notice from the video, we keep the starfish underneath the water. So you're not allowed to pick the starfish up from the water because that damages them. So this was it with the Stingray City boat ride. This can be done in a day, of course. It takes around 3 to 4 hours, depending if you hire like a private boat ride, if you're a bigger group or not. It's one of the top things that you need to do while in the Cayman Islands. Of course, you have to go out and enjoy the sunset as well on the 7 Mile Beach. So my suggestion would be to start the day, go to Stingray City, and then just enjoy a walk on 7 miles, starting on one end and finishing on the other. Day 2, we are going to West Bay. So 7 Mile Beach is this strip of beach, and then West Bay is the neighborhood where the locals live and where I used to live as well, and most of the workers in the Cayman Islands, but it's now becoming a more developed neighborhood too. West Bay is the place of the Caribbean looking houses that you're looking for. One thing that is true for the Cayman Islands is that you won't see the same types of houses or as many houses that you see on other traditional Caribbean islands. These are more rare because the islands are much more developed. So Heritage Kitchen is actually a restaurant, a local restaurant where you can enjoy a local plate of food. Now we have here a biscuit, which is salted dough, rice and beans, and it can be fish escovitch. Escovitch is a type of pickled vegetables on top of fried fish. This piece here is fried plantain. This time it was ripe plantain, but it can also be like a green plantain, and of course salad. Another diner in West Bay is this one, West Bay Diner. Do look out for the poster that says "Gone Fishing, see you Tuesday." So he will open only if he has enough fresh catch of the day. This is the close-up of the escovitch fish fry, which you will find in most local restaurants in Cayman, and not only in fancier restaurants too. But I do recommend buying it in a local shop, and you can enjoy it either on the beach or on a pit stop in your road trip. Another photo of Vlad and a friend of ours enjoying just a local plate of food. So one thing for West Bay, there's also the dive spot that we talked about earlier, the Kitty Wake, the Wreck, which is suitable for beginner divers too. And another place that you need to visit while in West Bay is the Turtle Farm. Now, I did speak a little bit about the Turtle Farm at the beginning, but I didn't show you too many photos. When you arrive at the Turtle Farm, this is a great activity for families with kids, but not only. You will see a great number of green turtles in the main pool, and they'll all gather around to feed. But I cannot stress enough how big these green turtles are. They're huge, and they are the ones used in the breeding program because they do have a lot of breeding programs. There's also an opportunity to go into another pool where you can go snorkeling and actually touch green turtles and see a lot of the species of the local fish. Now I will share a video to let me know if it plays out correctly. Yeah, as you can see, the water is not too deep, plenty of fish to see around, and the main attraction are, of course, the green turtles, which are harder to see out in the wild, or if you see them, you see one or two, but here they're in abundance because, as I said, they're breeding them. And they're breeding them not just for the turtle farm, for the sale of the turtle meat, but also for the release program. They will release the turtle farm, turtle center releases green turtles into the wild, both this size that you have now in the photo, or hatchlings, very, very small one. I'll show you a video in just a few minutes. So yeah, you get the idea. The turtle farm is great if you want to go there and just enjoy wildlife. without actually having to dive out in the wild. So let's see how a release program goes. This is just a spot on the 7 Mile beach. They'll drop the green turtle.
So what we do with our turtles is we stick them a few feet away from the water line, and that way they can walk themselves into the water. They're using all their senses on land and also as soon as they make their way into the ocean for the very first time.
It takes them a little bit to get accustomed to the new location.
Now, sometimes turtles go very quickly into the water. Sometimes they're a little bit slower in making their way there, and it's all dependent on the turtle.
Do notice how crystal clear the water looks like, and that's exactly how it looks like in reality too.
Now, at this age, at around 2 years old, we are unable to determine whether this turtle is a female or a male just by looking at it. So we'll hopefully know in a few more years when this turtle comes back to hopefully lay its own eggs if it's a female.
Fun fact about the turtles, they will always come back to the beach that they hatched from. So wherever the nest was, where their mama laid down the eggs and then the hatchlings came out, went into the sea, they'll always return to the same beach. Now, I don't know if they discovered how exactly the turtles do that, but the last that I knew, they haven't really managed
Now, sometimes the turtle stays a little bit close to shore and sometimes it goes straight out. This is its first time in the ocean, so it's just gonna spend a little bit of time exploring its new home.
Yeah, so that's the fascinating part about turtles. They'll always come back to the beach that they were released from. And that's why the lady said that the turtle will come back in a few years to the same beach, and they will. I don't know how they get their directions, but they do. Now let's see a video about... Sorry, if it's a little bit too loud, let me just fix this for you. Yes, unfortunately, I cannot turn it down. Right. So yeah, they do. If you want to get involved with wildlife in the Cayman Islands, releasing turtle hatchlings is a great experience. It can be part of, it can enrich your wildlife experience in the sense that, you know, they need to be protected. The green turtles are wildly protected, not just in Cayman Islands, but around the Caribbean and in other countries too. And it's, you know, of great importance to still see them out in the wild and not just in farms such as this one. And that came to the end of day 2, and we're now in day 3 when we can go down in Georgetown. Now we've spoke about 7 Mile Beach, West Bay, and then to the south we have Georgetown. Now Georgetown is considered the capital of Grand Cayman, and it is the place where you will land when you come to the Cayman Islands. And it's also the cruise ship dock. Now, the first thing that you'll see when you arrive on your cruise ship or when you arrive in Georgetown is this Margaritaville restaurant and the colorful building that surrounds it. And of course, as I said, this is also the place where you will get to explore for a few hours if you're here just for the day on a cruise ship. Now, Cayman Islands is a big destination for different cruise ship companies, and they will offer activities such as the Stingray City boat trip from the cruise ship because you do have enough time. Other than that, if you don't want to do anything on the island, just to explore Georgetown, a lot of people come here for the advantage of being a tax-free country, and they'll go to Kirk Freeport or Twilight Jewelers for their shopping. Now, there's the big opportunity for jewelry shopping, diamond shopping, pretty much, you know, high-end premium shopping that you can think of because it's not taxed. Or you can pay a visit to Tortuga Rum Bakery. We've spoken about the Tortuga Rum earlier and the Tortuga Rum Cake, but we have not spoken about the spicy beef patties that you can find here. The beef patties are not necessarily local to Cayman. They were brought in by the Jamaican population. And they're absolutely delicious. They are the ultimate snack food, perfect for a road trip, perfect for a few hours of exploration out in town. They're pretty much fried dough filled with minced beef, spiced, or you can have it in chicken or vegetable, different variation. This was my favorite one. And the best place to get them at is this Tortuga Rum Bakery. Another thing that you can do while in Georgetown is to visit the Cayman Craft Market. There's plenty of craftsmen around Cayman, you know, that work wood, that produces soap, cosmetics, and so on. Great pieces that you can find here if you're decorating your house in the Caribbean style. And of course, you can meet the other locals of the Cayman Islands, and not just Cayman Islands. I know they're found all throughout the Caribbean. And these are the chickens. Now, don't be surprised that you will see chickens all over the islands, on 7 Mile Beach, in front of your resorts. You come here for relaxation. You pay so much money at a high-end resort, and you get woken up by a rooster in the middle of the night because they'll start singing at 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m. That's because they're all over the island, and you'll see them, the rooster with the hen and a flock of chicks behind them. So yeah, you have to get accustomed with them. There's no calling program yet. Another interesting location in Georgetown is the fish market, which is literally a small shack. Both of them fishermen, local fishermen. They come in with the fresh catch of the day. You can go in, pick your fish, and have them clean it and fillet it for you in case you want to prepare ceviche or just to grill it later on. The quality of the video is not that good. It was a video that I took with my phone, but yeah, it was one of the things that we found on the island when we just arrived there, and we were so amazed by the fact that yeah, I can go buy my fresh fish, have it clean in front of me, and take it home and eat it in a couple of hours. So if you spend a few more days here, this can be an alternative to a dinner out. And also, while you're visiting Georgetown, on your way to Georgetown, you can stop by at Camana Bay. Now, Camana Bay is the shopping district of the locals. Not as many tourists come here. I would say that is the location of all the businesses that have their buildings in here. It is developed by one of the biggest billionaires on the island. His name is Dart. He is the one that developed the Cayman Islands in the last few years. And I recommend to just go there for a few hours just to roam around. Great restaurants, a great strolling alley, and there's a place that serves great Italian gelato. And this could be the end of day 3. And on day 4, if you hire the car, which I would definitely suggest you do while in the Cayman Islands, but please be aware that being part of the Commonwealth, they do drive on the left side. So if you're not accustomed to driving on the left side, it might not be the best option for you to rent the car. But many tourists come here. They didn't have much problems. It's not a big island. It's not very complicated. So I do suggest hiring a car and going to see the Eastern District. Now, the Eastern District is pretty much the biggest chunk of the island, because we've seen West Bay, 7 Mile Beach, and Georgetown, which are all located on the western part of the Grand Cayman. And I call it the whale's tail. And now we have the whale's front, so to say. And in the Eastern District, one day is enough to visit some of the most important locations, landmarks, so to say. We have Smith's Cove, which is just a beautiful island in between some reef, great snorkeling right off the shore. Then you have South Sound, and with the South Sound dock, another beach, which is popular among turtles. So if you go snorkeling there, you have a big chance of seeing a wild green turtle coming in to just munch on the green seaweed found underneath the water. You can go see the blowholes. Blowholes are just tiny holes in between the iron shore where the water comes in powerfully and then blows water through, and also the Lover's Wall. Lover's Wall is just a heart at the end of a wall where people like to stop and take a photo. Another location that I suggest visiting while in the Eastern District is Pedro St. James Castle. This is the oldest existing stone building in the Cayman Islands. Pedro St. James was built in 1780s by an Englishman called William Eden. Although we don't know why or how he came to the Cayman Islands, he became prosperous enough to build this, to buy this land and to build this house. And he used slave labor to style the home and to make it one of the greatest houses in the Caribbean at the time. Now, the Pedro St. James Castle is also the point where the end of slavery was officially ended in the Cayman Islands. That's where the proclamation ending slavery in the British Empire was right atop the iconic stone staircase of the house that I've showed you earlier. Another great stop would be the Queen Elizabeth II Botanical Park. It's a great walk. You get to see a lot of endemic species to the islands and to the Caribbean. And if you're in search for some refreshment, of course, you can also stop at Cayman Islands Brewery. The beer in the Cayman Islands is one of my favorite I've ever tried. And that's because it's like, it's suitable for a beach destination. And their brew is called K-Brew. It's just a regular lager. Then you have K-Brew Light, of course, white tip. Now, white tip, because the white tip shark is commonly found in the waters around the Cayman Islands. It's similar to the Corona in the sense that it's served with a lime wedge, and a small part of the profits that go into this beer go towards a nonprofit organization that sustains white tips around the island. Then we have the Iron Shore Bock, which is a darker beer. Iron Shore, because Iron Shore is common in the Cayman Islands. And we have the Shell Shock IPA, which is an Indian Pale Ale beer. Of course, these are not just the beers, not the only beers that they have at the brewery. I highly suggest you stop there for a beer tasting and try their seasonal crafts as well. The other thing that I wanted to talk to you about, and one thing that you'll probably see in your visits, is the green iguana. Now, the green iguana, it's considered the pest in the Cayman Islands. I know in other countries it is protected, but in here it is considered the pest, and you will see them absolutely everywhere. At least that was the case up until 2019, until I left. I know the government started a culling program in 2018 that's still going on now in 2022. More than 1 million green iguanas have been killed in the culling program. Now, they are considered a pest because they eat vegetation, and the Cayman Islands being so small, they are a threat to all of the other species, being other plants or other iguanas. Another thing related to the green iguana is that the culling program gives, I think it was at that time, 5 Cayman Island dollars, which is like £5, $7 per head of iguana, but you have to be a licensed hunter, so to say, culler. And they normally end up either eaten. There are some recipes that include green iguana meat, but not too many. The majority of the meat ends up in the United States, and it's integrated in dog food. Now, the reason for the culling, one of the main reasons for the culling program is because this is the endemic species of iguana located only in Grand Cayman, so not even in Cayman Brac or Little Cayman, and that's the blue iguana. It's also called the Cayman Island rock iguana. It's an endangered species. There were only 30 adults living in the wild. In my opinion, this iguana is not adapted to survive compared to the green iguana. The green iguana is adapted to survive. They breed very fast. They adapt to different environments, like they can swim, they can climb, and so on. Whereas the blue iguanas, the ones that I saw in the Queen Elizabeth Botanical Park, were very, very, very slow. And, you know, they're just not adapted to the evolution. And I do understand the efforts of the program to preserve them. But at the end of the day, why are they better than the green iguanas? Only because they're not found anywhere else. Other endemic species that I would want to note here, these are not the only endemic species to the Cayman Islands, but one of the most important would be the Cayman Islands parrot and the Cayman Island woodpecker, both endemic to Grand Cayman. And lastly, I would like to finish with a few good to know information about the Cayman Islands. Now, I don't know if you've ever heard of Hurricane Ivan. Now, being in the Caribbean, we have hurricane season every year from September, October, and it finishes at the beginning of November. And like other countries in the Caribbean, the Cayman Islands are occasionally struck by these great storms too. Now, the last great storm was Hurricane Ivan, happened in 2004. It caused great destruction, loss of life. The other famous one was in 1932. So fortunately, the Cayman Islands is not targeted by hurricanes very often. And, you know, there's also the thing that the Hurricane Ivan was a great opportunity for the islands to be redeveloped, rebuilt with greater buildings and to bring in a lot more foreign investments. Another thing are the mosquitoes. You are in the Caribbean, it is hot, you will find mosquitoes. This was a factor in the slow development of the Cayman Islands because there were vast numbers of mosquitoes up until the 1970s. They breed in swamps. There's a large number of swamps in the Cayman Islands, and the mosquitoes were so severe that you couldn't go out at night, that the cattle suffocated due to the mosquitoes, and you had to go out with a smoke pot to ward off the bugs if you wanted to come out at night. Thankfully, there's a mosquito research and control unit in place since the 1970s, and they have greatly reduced the problems. And nowadays, you only see mosquito around sunrise or sunset. Reducing the number of mosquitoes was one of the most significant factors in allowing Cayman Islands to progress to where it is today. Now, what you see is a photo of Cayman Islands today. This is from Georgetown. The changes to the islands have been dramatic in the past decades. They have gone from a subsistence economy in the 1950s to enjoying the highest standard of living in the Caribbean today. And that happened due to the fact that they completely turned off taxes. So there's no taxation. They invited a lot of financial businesses to come here, and the population has increased from 10,000 in the 1970s to what I told you is 70,000 today. Another notable event is the Batabano Carnival, and the word Batabano actually refers to the tracks that are left in the sand when their turtles come onto the beach to nest. The tracks are a reason to celebrate because they signify that the turtle population is replenishing itself, right? So they are not hunted anymore. They come back to the beach that they were released from, and that's reason to celebrate in the carnival every year in the month of May. I think the only time that it was stopped in recent years, it was of course during the pandemic. And the third most important event of the year, so we have the Pirates Week that we've talked about earlier, the Batabano Carnival, when everyone gets dressed up, goes out on the street, and it's a party all throughout the island. The third one is Taste of Cayman culinary event. This is when the highest rated chefs of all the resorts that I've mentioned earlier, and not only from the Cayman Islands, but from abroad as well, come to Cayman and race to come out with the best served recipe and dish. One thing I didn't mention a lot about the restaurants in the Cayman Islands, that's because there's no way you can have a bad meal here. Because of the high standard of living, all the restaurants are pretty good. The food served is outstanding. You won't find anything else other than fresh food, right? And this Taste of Cayman Food and Drink Festival is one of the greatest of its kind. And it has this long tradition of being held every year in Grand Cayman for more than 30 years now. And it hosts more than 4,000 local guests, of course, tourists that come to participate in the event specifically, just to enjoy various dishes, great wines, liquors, brews, and so on. Or to just enjoy Wahoo. If you're not familiar with Wahoo, in my experience, a lot of tourists that ended up in the Cayman Islands did not know what Wahoo is. It's a predatory fish, very similar to mahi-mahi or tuna, but not necessarily in the consistency of the meat. It has white meat and you can have it served blackened, just blackened with a little bit of sauce, some escovitch vegetables on the side. It's absolutely delicious, and do give it a try because most of the restaurants will serve it. And thank you for participating tonight. I'm so excited that I got to show you a little bit about the Cayman Islands, the place that I lived for 3 years. And this is just, grazing the surface. There's plenty more to say, but that's why we have the Q&A. So feel free to ask everything you want.
That is awesome. It brings back some memories. And I know that, I haven't been there in years and years and years, but I'm sure that much of it is still the same. One of the things, I have to ask you, one of the things you didn't talk about, but I'd like you to comment on it is, did you go to hell in the Cayman Islands?
Oh, yes, I went to hell and back. It was a decision not to include it because, in my opinion, it's just a marketing scheme. I forgot to mention, there is a quiz that I prepared for you too. If you've participated in my past virtual events, you know that I always like to do a quiz at the end of the tour. Do fill it out if you've enjoyed this tour, test your knowledge, and you can win the Travel Guide 2021 for the Cayman Islands if you get a perfect score. Now, if more people get a perfect score, of course, I'll have to randomly choose one winner. So yeah, I did go to hell and back. So for the people that don't know what hell is, it is a place in West Bay where Iron Shore comes out through through the ground, not surrounded by water, and people call it, there was this guy, I don't really remember the story, but the guy saw the opportunity to call it, oh, this is the gates of hell. And yeah, and he just built a shack around it that says, welcome to hell. But it's not. I wouldn't necessarily put it on your top 5 things to do.
No, it certainly isn't. Is it, I don't even know what it is. Is it lava? Like, what is the substance?
It's not lava, it's Iron Shore. So the Iron Shore is the type of very spiky, spiny limestone limestone, I think.
Limestone, limestone.
It's found all throughout the island. And this particular area just pops out through the ground as opposed to just being located close to the water.
Geographically, it's kind of cool, but I understand the marketing twist, and that's what obviously gets people to go there. So let's go to the Q&A. If you enjoyed this presentation, by all means, I've now put up a slide that you can see how tip the tour director. You can go on my website. It's very easy on Girl Travel Tours. There's a button right there that says tip the tour guide. But if you'd like to use Venmo or PayPal, feel free to do that as well. Georgiana, if you want to take a glass of water, that's fine. And then we can dive into a lot of these questions. If we go back up to the top, it sort of starts us back from the beginning of the presentation, and the questions kind of go in sequence. So if you don't mind, I'll let you read the ones off that you can address, and we'll go from there.
Yep. So I will start with, what is the cheapest time of year to travel there and least crowded time? When is it stormy season? So the cheapest time of the year starts in June, at the same time with temperatures going up, breeze going down, wet season starting. The least crowded time, I would say, is probably September, October. That's also the time of the hurricane season. So up to you if you want to travel during that time. The weather might not be the greatest. Is it recommended to convert money to British pounds? No. So the Cayman Islands have their own currency, is the Cayman Island dollar, or the CI. But everywhere on the island will take United States dollars. So there's no need to convert the money. However, if you pay in US dollar, you will receive the change in Cayman Island dollar. So I don't necessarily recommend you convert. There is a standard conversion exchange rate. So 125 US dollar for 1 CI dollar. Do they still capture turtles now? No. So capturing wild green turtles is completely prohibited. So no, the turtle farm is very sad. They have so many crammed into a tanya. Do you think this will ever be abolished? No. And I think that this is a good compromise in between, keeping with the local traditions, locals wanting to still eat turtle meat. Instead of them going out and actually hunting wild turtles, they can find it there. And the positives about it is that they also do a lot of releasing programs. Turtle soup used to be popular here in Virginia, but no longer, probably due to bans on taking turtles. I've had it and it's delicious. The soup was thicker and you added cherry. That probably helped. I would agree. That definitely probably helped. The one that I had, I didn't enjoy, but I think it's maybe an acquired taste. Are the Caymans de las Tortugas talked about in the movies? Yes. When is Pirates Week celebrated? At the beginning of November, so first week of November. Did you appear in the beginning of this video? I might have appeared in the beginning of one video. The language is English, yes. So English is the official language of Cayman Islands. When is Pirate Week? I've answered. I've been given that as a gift from people who visited, the Tortuga rum cake. Very rum soaked, I agree. I miss it so much. What about snorkeling? Snorkeling can be done throughout the island and it's great. Is the coral reef dying? There are like many other sites. Yes, in some areas, specifically in the cruise ship dock, there is significant changes in the coral, but not as significant as I would necessarily say it's dying. Yes, there are marks of people mixing into the wild. Is the coral bleached out? No. Will you be commenting on best snorkeling spots versus diving? No, unfortunately. But the great part about the Cayman Islands is that you could do a lot of offshore diving, which also translates to you can just go offshore snorkeling. You don't necessarily need to go diving. And the waters are pretty calm. So if you're a good swimmer, you could go as far away as you want. Is there snorkeling there? How do you access it? From the land, or do you have to take a boat? You can access it from the land. Why a bed on the beach versus lounge chairs? Because you have the money. It's just for added comfort. You can also find lounge chairs and you can also find day beds. I've seen day beds being popular with bigger families. For example, if you have 2 or 3 younger kids with you, the day beds tends to keep them all together. Has climate change affected the shoreline? I wouldn't necessarily put it on the climate change. It's something that happens with the shoreline As I said, it's a very, very tiny island in the middle of big ocean. If the currents comes in, it will eat up the shoreline. How is the shopping? Do they have Tiffany and Co? I think they do in the Island Jewelers. I'm not very experienced with jewelry, but I know it's great shopping for premium types of jewelry. How can I listen? Okay, I think this is a question for you, Mar. I think you can find the video after on Mara's YouTube channel. Can you easily book the day tour, Stingray City, through the hotels? Is it good to do this ahead of time? You can easily book them through the hotels. You don't need necessarily to do this ahead of time. So 1 or 2 days, it's fine. Can you get vegetarian food easily? Yes, yes. The restaurants are really good and they do cater to all types of allergies, diets, and so on. Is there a synagogue on the island? Not to my knowledge, no. I was told they return after about 8 years. The green turtles? It's a possibility. I don't think, yeah, I think so. Are the turtles tagged before release? I didn't see a tag. I don't think they are, not all of them. I think that maybe some of them are. I don't know. I might have to research a little bit more about that. Did a turtle release still have my video named? Okay. Is it safer to release at night? Yes, it is, because less predators, I think, less interruptions. How long can the turtles stay underwater? I think it was 30 minutes before they have to come out for a breath of air. Are there areas on the beach we aren't allowed to visit when there's no forbidden areas? Same chicken problem here in Oahu. Yes, they're everywhere in the Caribbean. Just got back from Cayman Friday. Local markets only open with cruise ships in. Did not find Margaritaville. Perhaps they closed over COVID. Perhaps they did. I don't know. Margaritaville was located quite central. So I don't know what to tell you. I know that COVID did change a lot of things and some places did shut down forever. I don't necessarily expect Margaritaville to have the same fate, but I don't know. Can you get ciguatera poisoning from an infected fish? Not that I know of. I've never heard of this. What about shark attacks? So the types of shark found in the Cayman Islands are not life-threatening. You have white tips, you have nurse sharks. There are hammerheads in a particular area in the Cayman Islands, but it's much further down than where all the tourists come down to enjoy the beach. But yeah, I haven't heard of a shark attack while I was there. Do we know how the green iguana got introduced there? I think it came down on commercial ships, but I'm not too sure. When is Taste of Cayman event? It's in February. You spoke about 3 motels on the 7 Mile Beach, but did not mention the prices. I think I did. I did give you a range. If you're in season, the first 3 hotels that I spoke about are in between $600 to maybe $2,000 a night. Off season, they can go lower. Is there any nightlife? There is. But I would have to say that the nightlife, depending on your taste, there's also clubs for locals. There's clubs where tourists like to go to, but there is, or there was. I believe you can have your postcards postmarked from hell if the post office is still there. That is correct. It's still there. Will there be a Pirates Week this year? I don't know what to tell you. They will decide. I know it was canceled during COVID. What people other than the pirates initially inhabited the island? So there's no natives to speak about in the Cayman Islands. No indigenous people there. It was just sailors that ended up in the Caymans to stock up on water and stock up on turtle meat. What about going to Little Cayman and Cayman Brac? So you can go to these islands with a Cayman Airways plane. It takes about an hour, the plane ride. You could do a day trip to Little Cayman in the morning and come back in the evening. You can go to Cayman Brac and just spend one night in there. The Cayman Brac has around 2,000 people as local population, and Little Cayman has 270 people. There's one bar, one hotel, so pretty small. So yeah, they're worth visiting. I know the Cayman Brac is a top diving destination too, and most of the tourists that end up there will go for the diving. The beach is not as spectacular as it is in the Grand Cayman Islands. Do you dive with stingrays? In November, you can dive with the stingrays in Stingray City all year round. Is this safe for solo women travel? Yes, of course. Do they have a shuttle running from Georgetown to Rum Point? That is a great question. There is a shuttle. And another thing that I wanted to mention is the taxi system. So there's no regular taxis as you would expect, you know, like the regular small cars. There's like a minivan. All the taxis look like a minivan. Of course, you can pick them up at your hotel, or there's a bus system. It's not very reliable because it does not have a fixed schedule. But once you see it, once you see it passing you by, you can stop it. At the last time, it was $2.5 US a ride, no matter where you go. And you can take that from Georgetown to 7 Mile Beach and so on. Are there smaller boutique hotels? The smaller ones are Margaritaville, Sunshine Suite Resort, but not small in the sense that they still have a lot of rooms. There's a few Airbnbs, but they're not, this type of tourism is not very developed here. Can a US citizen live there? What documents are needed for permanent residency and home ownership? This is a very long question. Yes, of course, a US citizen can live here. You will need, depending on what you want to do on the islands, you will need a work permit, which will grant you access to stay on the islands for longer. Otherwise, there's another way to gain Cayman Islands citizenship, and that's if you come with $2 million and invest. It was $2 million the last time I checked. I don't know if they changed this, but if you want to invest in the islands, you come in, a minimum investment of $2 million will grant you permanent citizenships of the islands. So that's the fun fact that I can tell you about the obtaining citizenship. Other than that, if you want to go the hard way, you have to work on the islands for 9 years before you can apply for a permanent residency. And not even that is guaranteed. So after 9 years spent on the island, there's some conditions that you need to comply with. You cannot be too long gone from the islands and so on, and you have to work there, and you have to do some volunteering, blah, blah, blah. Then you apply, and they might give you that residency. According to Google, there is a synagogue on the island. I believe Vlad already answered that question. Very religious island. Early curfew for bars on Saturday night, so people can be all fresh for church Sunday. And grocery stores are closed Sundays, so be prepared and shop before that. Some small convenience stores open, but with many arriving Saturdays, don't leave your big shop. That's not my experience. So I wouldn't say that the stores are closed on Sunday. Some of them, the grocery, some small convenience stores open. Yes, they are, but it is a religious island, but I didn't necessarily see the curfew because of religious purposes. The nightclubs do go on all night. Are there good sailboat anchorages? I don't know exactly. I would have to research this. I think Vlad is answering this question right now. What of the island is the rum tasting? The rum tasting, you could go at the Cayman Island Distillery and try their rums. Those are the governor's reserve that I showed to you. Are there rental cars on the island? Yes, there are. All of the rental car companies are found close to the airport. Is it wheelchair friendly? Yes, most of the resorts are wheelchair friendly, yes. Can you rent mopeds, bikes? Mopeds, I haven't seen. I think there's segways and bikes, yes. What is the dress code? Is it a very modest island? I wouldn't necessarily call the Cayman Islands modest, no. Margaritaville is still there, but renamed. They were apparently paying too much for the brand. There you go. What pharmacy and medical services are available, and is there medical insurance? There is medical insurance, of course, depending on what you need. Do you need tourists, or do you need, like, if you're a resident there? Medical insurance is mandatory if you work on the island. And I think the health system is one of the best ones on in the Caribbean because it's completely private. So it's not dependent on the government.
All right, I think that wraps up our Q&A. Great job on being able to address all the questions. And I am sure that after COVID, I know you left right before COVID, but I am sure that it was a dead town for a very long time. And I'm sure they're very happy to see tourists come back to that region. I know some people from this virtual tour have recently just been there, and a lot of other people were saying that they're on their way. So that's great. I think that they will be very, very happy to see everybody return. So thank you very much for bringing us again another place in your life that you are very comfortable and have lived. So we appreciate that. And I look forward to more virtual tours with Georgiana in the future. To all of you in the audience, thank you for coming. We appreciate you being here. You are the reason we are here. So thank you. And until next week, when I think we're back in Italy, I will see all of you again. Take care and have a good night. Thanks again, Georgiana.